Hello, Oracles! Who is Elon's successor? This is a question many people ask when it comes to both Twitter and Tesla. When it comes to Tesla, a lot of people have been asking, well, who is going to be the next one in charge? There is a key man risk over there that many investors look at and say, what's going to happen if something happens to Elon? Who would take over and how would the company function? When it comes to Twitter, a lot of times people are asking questions now of when are we going to be replacing Elon so he can focus his attention back over on Tesla? Well, a few of these questions bubbled up today in the hearing that they have in Delaware when it comes to Elon's compensation package. And while we didn't get any names that were listed at all, we did get kind of a little bit of timing when it comes to at least the Twitter successor portion of things. And Elon had said that his time commitment to Twitter should be ending soon. We know that he has been spending the lion's share of his time focused on Twitter at the moment. He said as early as the end of this week, he could have a team in place which will allow him to step away from focusing as heavily on Twitter as he has been. I don't know if he's going to actually be naming a CEO at that point, but at least if he has a management team in place, he can then step away from that. We do know that he has some obligations coming up to both the launch over at SpaceX in the next couple of weeks, and then of course the quarter and the year end when it comes to Tesla. And so while we can agree or disagree about Elon's purchase of Twitter, at least the timing of it really wasn't all that terrible. You know, he got it at the beginning of Q4 here, end of October, and now we're getting into the end of the year, so, you know, he's got this all in place, he can get a management team over there, doesn't need to focus as heavily, so he can get back to SpaceX, and then he can finish up the year focusing on Tesla again. So, for what it's worth, at least the timing of this seems to be okay. We will see if he makes any announcements for the management over at Twitter by the end of this week. You know, maybe CEOs could be, maybe Jack Dorsey wants to come back and take over Twitter, or maybe Mr. Beast comes in and becomes the CEO of Twitter. Who knows, there's a lot of other names, and you guys can mention any names in the comments below who you think would end up being the CEO of Twitter. Now moving on over to Tesla, our reason these questions had come up today was the fact that James Murdoch had said that they are thinking about a successor for Elon, and Elon does have some names in mind. Now, taking a step back and realizing that every single board that is out there is thinking about a succession plan. They have to. It is what is wise to do for any company. You always have a leader that is in place and think, well, if something happens to this leader, who would come up to be able to take over afterwards? This is something that is usually discussed on a regular basis. So this really is no surprise that they do have leadership lined up behind Elon. So some thoughts that come in and some names that were mentioned are Herbert Deiss from VW. We had discussed this before. Herbert is kind of at the end of his career, so not sure if it's a role that he would want to take on. I would actually like to see him as a board member over at Tesla, but hey, he has done a great job over at VW. Maybe he would be a good name that could come in and take place for Elon if that's something that Elon would want to do. Next would be a couple of insiders. So, you know, thinking about people that could come up from the inside, we've got, of course, the names that are on the earnings calls. We've got Zach Kirkhorn and Drew Baglino. So personally, in listening to all of these earnings calls, I've been just paying attention to how people grow, and Zach has definitely been growing into his position. So I don't know if either one of them are ready yet. And this is a big question, you know, they're always thinking about it, but, you know, who knows about the timing of things when these would actually happen. So for me, I think, you know, Drew is great. I think they're both great. I don't know which one would be better. You know, they've both been growing in their position. You know, Drew being the engineer might be the better fit for the role just because of the fact that Elon as an engineer running this company has been doing well. They may want an engineer running it. But meanwhile, Zach has been growing and doing a great job, and he runs the financials. A lot of times Wall Street likes to hear about the financial side of things because they truly don't really care about anything else other than financials because it's Wall Street. So you guys can let me know in the comments below who you think a successor would be for Tesla. And do you think that they would bring up someone from the inside, or do you think that they would bring in someone from the outside? And so the stock movement today, we basically followed with the macro environment. We came down just under 4%. I don't think any of the movement that went on today had anything to do with this court case that's going on. Really nothing major happening over there. And looking at the charts, and I apologize I'm not able to show them tonight. I had my son, so I was not able to jump on to do the normal evening show that I do. But it looks like we are either in a dead cat bounce, as we were talking about yesterday, or still continuing to consolidate. Today's candlestick was lower than yesterday, so it seems like we could be entering into that dead cat bounce. We'll just pay attention tomorrow. So it looks like the two levels that we have right now are that level of resistance at $200 and a level of support at $180. So we will pay attention to that range. Basically, how I've been tracking things for pretty much the entire year is, here's the two levels that we are trapped between. We are going to head up towards one of them or down towards the other, and are we going to break through or not? That's really all we can do right now. Predicting the future when it comes to near-term stock movements is almost impossible, so I just pay attention to those things. I see those two levels and I'll say, all right, if we're coming down to that 180 level, are we going to break through that? If we do, what's the level below that? If we go back up and we hit $200, are we going to break through that? And if we do, what is the next level past that? It's really all I do. Very basic, very simple, but that's just kind of where we're at the moment. Again, long term truly doesn't matter. I think long term we are going to be doing very, very well in the future, and I think all the prices we have right now are amazing sale prices. And so speaking of the future, I did have a question in the comments today asking how I felt about the Republicans potentially taking over in 2024 and how I thought that could affect the EV tax credit and this transition over to sustainable energy. So I try not to get too political. I'm kind of in the middle. I like to have a balance of power. So for me, just looking at it, let's say for instance, if that does end up happening, when it comes to the EV tax credit moving forward, we are going to have 2 years of this being in place. So we already have the world starting to transition over. We have many countries around the world who are already setting up regulations right now that they're going to be banning ICE vehicles by 2030 or 2035. This is already moving in this direction. Over the next 2 years, we are most likely going to be seeing an even stronger push towards EVs, mostly because of this EV tax credit, especially here in the US. So what's going to end up happening over the next 2 years as well, all these battery credits are going to come through. We are going to start seeing price parity. A lot of these big companies, legacy companies, startups, a lot of people are investing a significant amount of money, time, and effort into transitioning their companies over to EVs. They have seen that EVs are the future. So my opinion on this is, even if Republicans do come in 2024, we are already moving in that direction. It is a freight train that cannot be stopped. Right now, we do not need this EV tax credit to get us moved over to sustainable energy. It's just going to speed up the process, in my opinion. So if the Republicans do come in, and for some reason they decide to shut down all of the EV tax credit bills that have been passed, then we will most likely still see the EV revolution taking over and sustainable energy coming in. It might just not happen as fast. And again, that's just my opinion on these things. I do like to stay in the middle, but you guys are more than welcome to have your discussions in the comments when it comes to the political side of things. I just ask that you guys keep it civil and keep it safe. Don't get too crazy down there, but I do enjoy your conversations, and I will jump in because, again, I do understand both sides. I like to be in the middle so I can be playing the devil's advocate down there for both sides of the things. So you guys go ahead and discuss in the comments your feelings on all of that matter as well, whether you think the Republicans are going to shut everything down when it comes to 2024, and if you think that's going to make a difference when it comes to us transitioning over to sustainable energy. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat, that link is down in the description, and if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a membership program and a Patreon. Those links are also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.